What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Rams Brothers. I'm your host, Dean, and I'm joined, as always, by my brother and the other fantastic host of this show, Nick. And Nick, the wild card matchup we've all been waiting for. We talked about it yesterday with Jared Goff versus Matthew Stafford. Now we're going to talk about everything in between. But first and most importantly, how are you, my good brother?
I'm good. I should have worn this for the last episode. It's my JG16 Goff sweater that Dean actually got me for Christmas one year. But yeah, I'm good. I could not be more excited to talk about this game. It's been on my mind all week. I'm sure it's been the same with every other Rams fan, and I'm just super stoked.
It's going to be a fantastic matchup. Can't wait to talk about everything in between, all the numbers, offense, defense in relation to the Lions, even special teams, and where we feel like there are going to be some keys to victory. But if you guys are enjoying the podcast, if you guys are enjoying all the content we're putting out across social, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to comment. Make sure to just engage with the podcast because it increases the overall reach, and all good things happen when more people listen to the pod. So please. We're off to such a good start. I remembered the like and subscribe in the beginning of the episode. How much better could we get? Nick, the game preview is officially here. It's a wild card preview. The Rams are 3-point underdogs. They've been 3-point underdogs before this season. Not uncommon space for them to be in. They're plus 140 to win the game. The over-under is set at 51.5, which may be the highest on the year, I would think. 64% of the money right now is placed on the over. So a lot of people feel like the game could potentially go over 51.5 points, which I'm a firm believer of as well. 43% of the bets have been placed on the Rams so far. 50% of the bets have been placed on the Lions, who are at home with a 12-5 record and are prepping for their first home playoff game since 1993, 30 years ago. It is going to be an incredible matchup, and I feel like that's exactly where I would think the money is going to be. 43% on the Rams, 57% on the Lions. The better record goes in favor of the Lions. They're playing at home. The Rams are underdogs. Nick, initial gut feel about this game.
Based on just what I've been seeing on the internet, it feels like that everybody thinks the Rams have already won this game. So I would have thought the money would have been reversed and there would have been 50% on the Rams as opposed to the Lions. And it's just the first football game in the playoffs at Ford Field it's just going to be like the loudest game I think possible this week. These fans are clamoring for this.
We were fools to think we could get tickets to this game and actually go into the stadium after they waited 30 years to see their team playing another home playoff game.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. It wasn't in the cards for us either way. I didn't even look at the prices. But I just think it's going to be just remarkable. Gut feeling tells me that the line should have been Rams plus 3.5, which it started as, but has now moved to Rams plus 3. And I really liked that hook. And now it's officially a stay away for me because I don't know. I think the game ends with exactly 3 points, to be honest with you, one way or the other. I think somebody wins this game with a field goal, whoever has the ball last. And then that just ends with a push and you get your money back. So I'm not gonna put any money on it.
Yeah, no, I get it. I totally get it. It's going to be a great back and forth. You're going to see Sean McVay's offense go head-to-head with Ben Johnson's offense and some of the deficiencies defensively. But I wanted to start with Ben Johnson and Jared Goff because it's when Jared Goff first got to Detroit, he would ask for more movement, more keepers, which is a Ben Johnson quote. They were the simplest plays. The Rams made a lot of hay on that. But the teams that have played against Jared Goff and played against Sean McVay's offense have caught up to these patterns. They're familiar. So they've had to evolve the offense a little bit. And their evolutions are many. They compound one after the other. They'll run outside zone with a fullback leading blocking. And that's not a Sean McVay-ism. That's a very, very appropriate for a Dan Campbell-led team. You'll see them come out in 11 jumbo, which is 6 offensive linemen and 3 wide receivers, with Penei Sewell as a tight end, with Taylor Decker as a tight end. They'll switch it around and they'll run the same thing with either offensive lineman. I feel like the way that they pull all these players in the run game is extremely efficient. And it all starts with what Ben Johnson was able to pair together with Jared Goff, because it feels like it has a hint of McVay. Like, while these wrinkles are all really fun wrinkles, there's still wrinkles that are very, very familiar of the Sean McVay offense. You make one play look like that. Make one play look like the other play. Use a strong running game to be able to create all of these easy passing opportunities in attempt to forever stay ahead of these defenses Ben Johnson's wrinkles are a little bit wackier than Sean McVay's, but it feels like a very, very familiar process in a system that Jared Goff is very, very comfortable in. And to me, that's why the success is happening. They've had 3 years to kind of string it together. Ben Johnson was there before Jared Goff, and now it feels like schematically, it's like a LaCroix. It's like it has a hint of Sean McVay in it, but it is overwhelmingly just drilled down with Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell and all of those other isms that they built in to help Jared Goff succeed. So this offense now, it seems like it's all kind of clicking together, and the offensive line being so highly coveted, you have to give credit to guys like Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes for being able to put it all together. So fascinated to see it all unfold.
One thing that I always said with Jared Goff in regards to his play was, if you give him time, he will be able to pick you apart, and he will be able to tear apart your secondary. He just needs, he needs the comfortable pocket to do so. And he has that right now in Detroit. Yep. He absolutely does. And, the mirage of complexity, whatever Sean McVay likes to call it.
Illusions of complexity.
I was so close. Illusions of complexity. Is definitely there with Ben Johnson. He absolutely brought that on board. And there is more. He definitely leans gimmick as well. He's going to get the offensive line involved. He's going to do pitch backs to the quarterback, flea flickers and whatnot. So
double reverses to Jameson Williams, get their skill players out in space. Yep.
He likes that, which is, doing that with Goff, I think definitely adds another layer of kind of above what we've seen from Goff's time with McVay. I think there's a little more trust as well on Goff's shoulders this time around with his maturity. But
yep.
I am definitely concerned with him being able to tear apart our secondary because, we've seen some flashes and there have been picks and they've definitely gotten better, but I'm not feeling super confident about Witherspoon being able to pick off Goff this week.
I don't know. It's going to be interesting, but it's going to be very dependent on the way that the offensive line plays, right? Because they're highly coveted for the right reasons. Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker and Frank Ragnow, they're all first-round picks. They all protect Jared Goff very well. If there's any weaknesses to exploit up front, if you're going to get Jared Goff to turn the ball over, it's Jonah Jackson. It's their left guard. He's a former Ohio State Buckeye because Graham Glasnow on the other side, on the right side, is a stud. I'd argue that's their only weak point, and I'd also argue that he's a much better player than a Justin Pugh or an Aaron Banks with the 49ers, but still a little bit of a weak point in terms of the entire offensive line. And I saw 2 games specifically where they allowed 4 sacks against Chicago this season. I think it was their second matchup against one another, and then 5 against Baltimore. It was 2 of their 5 losses this season. Generating pressure against this offense is so insanely important just because it's going to be able to mitigate some of the explosives as well from some of the skill players that you mentioned, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Josh Reynolds and Jameson Williams, guys that they really like to get out in space. Like Amon-Ra St. Brown, the sun god, is a killer in the slot. Jameson Williams, he's going to be able to use his legs, his speed to be able to stretch the field vertically, and he's going to be able to leverage that open field speed in the run game. Josh Reynolds, Nick, we know Josh Reynolds, nicknamed the Praying Mantis when he finally got to Detroit. He's a very good field stretcher, a good 50-50 ball catcher. And then there's Sam Laporta. This is where kind of their big question mark comes in because he's 100% a primary target, a primary read for Jared Goff throughout his progressions. 20% target share.
Best tight end in the league, to be honest with you right now.
Yeah.
I believe he is.
Yeah, I mean, and the Rams are second most in explosive plays throughout the entire season. And when it comes specific to tight ends, they're ranked 29 in yards allowed to tight ends this season, which is right near 60 yards per game. So him not being in the game is drastic. If he's and I do think there is a chance he's going to be able to play. When you look at the live lines and you could bet on anytime touchdown scores, Sam Laporta's name is still there. That happens with injured players sometimes, but I still feel like if he's going to be able to rally, you would do it for his first home playoff game in Detroit.
Absolutely. I kind of if I'm the Lions, I mean, Dan Campbell is probably going to try to put him out there, but if you legitimately think, you're not just trying to win a playoff game, you're trying to win the Super Bowl, I think you have to rest him to get him to the point where next week against whoever it might be, Dallas, San Francisco, Philly, you take that chance. And I don't know. I think it's just tough because there's so much, pressure built up on this moment for Detroit. To play him is going to be a huge game, difference, but is it worth it? And I would argue, no, it's not.
Yeah, but considering, like you mentioned, with the secondary being suspect, and the Rams have to be able to win with the pass rush if they're going to be able to mitigate some of the deficiencies in the secondary. So yeah, I mean, it would make sense. They have some decent backup tight ends too. They can get some run, but nothing as effective as Sam Laporta. So that's
No.
definitely going to be something to monitor. I feel like a key in this game is interior pressure. We kind of mentioned it before because interior pressure is going to help mitigate some of the problems in the secondary. And knowing that we have these three players in Bobby Brown and Aaron Donald and Kobe Turner, I'm calling this the bare necessities. This is very much a key in this game because if you can get interior pressure on Jared Goff on Sunday with Aaron Donald, Kobe Turner, Bobby Brown, it's how you disrupt this Lions offense and force them into mistakes. It's how you take away the explosive plays from Jamison Williams. It's how you potentially take away explosive plays from Josh Reynolds. The Rams' secondary can be attacked vertically. If you could limit those explosives, maybe even try to replicate some of what Wink Martindale rolled out for us with that big three bear front to be able to generate pressure up the A gap and blitz consistently with Ernest Jones, the secondary has to be prepared for this game, but it's going to be all about the bare necessities and those three big players being able to do their job. Because if Jordan Fuller can't go on the back end, you're going to have a young safety, maybe Russ Yeast out there, and they got some players that can fly. So
Yeah,
concern is valid.
it is funny to think that Aaron Donald will have an opportunity to just take down his former quarterback in like a game that really matters, not just like a regular season Detroit SoFi game where the Lions were like horrible that year. Like, pressure on Goff and everybody knows in that building, that's the way to get home. That's the way to win the game is going to be if you can get pressure to this guy because he crumbles sometimes. We've seen it. I mean, he's definitely gotten better, but zero blitzes was the way to take him out. And it's just full circle now that Aaron Donald has an opportunity to take down the guy that led him to a Super Bowl appearance, his first.
Yeah, I don't even think it's necessarily just the interior pressure. It's being able to execute on blitzes, right? Because like they have two great bookend tackles. Byron Young's going to struggle a little bit to generate some pressure. So interior and then being able to blitz up the middle with some of your linebackers. Roseboom's been playing well in that situation. Ernest Jones as well. So I'm hopeful that they can kind of string it all together. That's a big key. But the Lions defense, Nick, completely different story. Unfortunate to them because I feel like defensively, they're just a couple of players away from really just, being a 13-4, a 14-3 team and being able to get that first round bye and knocking San Francisco off. But that's kind of the issue. It's like the Rams have scored 26 plus points in 5 of their last 7 road games with Stafford under center. Only San Francisco has scored more 26-plus point road games. And the teams that are, I think these teams over the period of time where the Rams have scored 26-plus points in 5 of their 7 road games are 8. So it's 154-30 is their record. So a winning percentage over 800 when they score 26-plus points on the road. And the Rams are 8-1 in those scenarios, and they're 4-1 on the road. So I'm optimistic. I feel like the Lions, in terms of being ranked the best against the run, is much drastically different from being the way that they're ranked against the pass. Being ranked number 1 against the run in DVOA, 4th in EPA, 3rd in yards per carry. It's thanks to their duos inside. It's thanks to schematically what they're able to kind of put together in McNeil and Pascal and their inside linebacker duo and Alex Anzalone, who's their Mike linebacker, and Jack Campbell, who has the ability to take over the Mike linebacker responsibilities when Anzalone is not on the field, and he's a young rookie that's been playing so well. So that's where it's going to be. It's going to be tricky because they're second in generating pressure. So their pressure is not necessarily getting home. They're really good against the run, but against the pass, they just continuously struggle.
Yeah, I think the defense, it's like they hold running backs on an average to like 3.2 per carry.
Yeah.
So which kind of feels perfect for this Rams team with Coach McVay and Matthew Stafford, who love to air the ball out. A kind of opposite of how that Ravens game went when they ran the ball the whole way down the field. I think you're going to see a lot. You're going to see first down pass. You're going to see second down pass. You're going to see third down pass. And I think it's going to drive some fans crazy because Kyren is a huge reason as to why, they made that run in the back end of their season. But it feels like the way to beat them is not on the ground. It's through the air.
Yeah, 27th against the pass. they're allowing
if
close
Nick
to.
Mullins can kind of tear you up and put up like 28, on like a game that you're absolutely playing for end of the season, like what can Matt Stafford do? But I also don't think 26 points is going to be enough to win the game. I think you're going to have to score like 30.
Yeah, you may have to. And so 27th against the pass. So 250 passing yards per game. They're 29th in coverage. They're 32nd in depth of completed pass. So Matthew Stafford's going to be airing it out. If he has the opportunity, he sees something pre-snap, he's going to be taking shots, especially against his former team. But if anybody can stick with a player like Cooper Kupp, it's Brian Branch. Like, he is an unbelievable rookie, and that leaves players like Kindle Vildor and Cam Sutton having to deal with DeMarcus Martian Robinson and Puka Nacua. And the Rams are going to get their matchups in the secondary, but it's all about, guys like Brian Branch. Like, you want to be able to kind of mitigate him as much as you possibly can, because he's not only so great in coverage, he's not only so great as a dime backer, but he's also just great in the blitz. So if you can mitigate some of the things that he could do, I would be really confident. He was banged up in the last game, but he's a great player. And Melifonwu was another guy to watch on the back end. He's a game-changing safety. Like, theoretically can play everywhere. Think about Buda Baker, same kind of player. But Kirby Joseph is liable on the other side, opposite of Melifonwu. And I feel like I mentioned before we started previewing the defense, we're about 1 to 2 players away from really being a top unit. Like, they have a lot of good young draft picks, and Brian Branch and Jack Campbell, and obviously Aiden Hutchinson has been unbelievable. Like, this entire season, his rookie season, his sophomore season has been great. But like, what are they missing? It feels like another player on the back end, potentially another lockdown corner, which could, bring them over the top.
It's funny, like if you were to be like, okay, you can add one player to the Lions to make them a Super Bowl contender, it would probably be like a healthy Jalen Ramsey or something, or somebody to that degree, just because their weakness is clearly in the secondary, and it feels like they have a lot, like everywhere else, even special teams, like they're pretty good, like from top to bottom. So that's why this is a real team. Like, it's not like yes, the Rams can go in there and win, but it's nothing that should be taken lightly at all.
I totally agree with you. I mean, how could you take a team
if it was
lightly?
Tampa, completely different story. I'd be like, yeah, on to the next round. But it's not. It's not Tampa.
Sure. And you know what? It's such an interesting matchup because the Rams know how to exploit the pass game, but we know what the Rams' offense looks like when it gets disjointed and it becomes unmarried, and they're not marrying all the run and the pass together. And it's fully dependent on Matthew Stafford to beat the defense. That's when he turns the ball over. That's when protection lets up. That's when the offensive line gets tired. I want them to be able to establish everything that they need to establish earlier on in this game, meaning you could run the ball consistently and ways to kind of get around some of the pressure that the Lions generate so well. It's kind of think about the way that you would play against the Dallas Cowboys. You kind of run right at it, right? Because as pressure kind of starts to come at you, you could run that duo scheme, get your double teams, get into the second level, and be able to be productive. And I that's why I have faith in them being able to kind of marry it together. And it's kind of the big key in terms of how we want to focus on this Lions defense is stay within the identity of your own offense. Like, a lot of the looks that Matthew Stafford is going to get pre-snap may dictate a pass. But then you'd imagine that Detroit's defense is expecting Matthew Stafford to come out and try and dice up the secondary with his arm. And they'll be disguising their coverages. They're going to be bringing pressure consistently, but you have to mitigate it by being able to stay honest and on occasion just running through the pressure. And I have faith that they can do that because they've showed that they could do that coming out of the bye.
Yeah. It's coming out of the bye, they just transformed into the team that they said that they were going to be. And it's the worst possible time for the Lions to see them. I mean, the Giants game wasn't exactly what you want to see, and that was kind of the last game we saw Stafford, but we kind of just had like a second bye. So hopefully, they're back to their top potential.
Yeah, I mean, that Giants game was interesting, right? Because Stafford turned the ball over a couple of times, and you saw some interesting fronts from Wink Martindale. You saw the secondary disguise some coverages, which caused some errant throws. You saw the move away from the run game a little bit, which are all kind of things the only way that the Rams, I feel like, can lose this game offensively is if they compile mistakes that they've set on their own on top of one another. And to me, that's doing things like throwing the ball 9 straight times. It's getting wacky in the red zone when they were so efficient against San Francisco with Carson Wentz. So those are kind of
wacky in the red zone, and then like close to the red zone where you're at like the 40 or the 30, and then it's 4th and 7, and all of a sudden you're lining up Brett Maher and then you're giving the Lions great field position.
Yeah, you almost kind of want to match the Lions' wackiness, right? Like if they're going to go for it on 4th down and 2 in the goal line, then you want to kind of be able to match that and not, miss a freaking field goal with Brett Maher, because that's special teams is a huge concern. Khalif Raymond might not play in this game, which is great against the 32nd ranked team in coverage and special teams in the Rams, but you still have Brett Maher. You still don't know if you can make an extra point. You're still going to be anxious about that at every second of this game. So,
yeah. I feel like this game might come down to a 2-point conversion as well.
It should. It should end the same way that the Lions' last game ended, where they went for it for a 2-point conversion 3 straight times after getting penalized twice.
After getting it the first time.
But that's what they do. They're tricky. They'll throw everything at you. They'll bite off a kneecap, and then they'll come up and they'll bite off another one. And then they'll report an offensive lineman eligible, and then they'll have Jamison Williams in a double reverse, and then he'll take it 35 yards up the field, and then all Jared Goff has to do is dump it off to his tight end. It's the way that they built it all. You really have to give a ton of credit to Ben Johnson and Jared Goff and all of their skill players and Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, because it's a fun team to watch. And I don't think that there are a lot of fans that want to see the Lions get knocked out in this round. I would think that the majority of fans want to see the Rams fall flat on their face, because that's what they've been rooting for since they won the Super Bowl. So,
yeah, I feel like a lot of people don't even want to see her. Especially, I mean, like the narrative, people love the narrative that Stafford's back in Detroit, for the first time. But
sure.
I don't think people are like super amped up to see Stafford potentially take down the Lions.
Oh, I would be so insanely nervous if I was a Lions fan, but rightfully so, because he's a great quarterback and he's darkly chaotic. So he goes into a new organization and wins in his first year.
I saw this, and it was from the perspective of a Detroit fan, and it was like, remember what Matthew Stafford did for this franchise, and it was like 2 things, and they were jack and shit, and that's, that's, which is horrible. He led them to playoff games, but they didn't see a single win. But look at what Jared Goff did to the Rams. It's like he led them to a Super Bowl, and I feel like some of the Rams fans were kind of like spoiled after they got rid of him, because it was like, Goff did that. Now Stafford. Yeah,
there may or may not have been people in the comments in the last episode saying that Rams fans are a bit spoiled, but I totally understand that, considering Lions fans being so deprived from home playoff games and playoff victories. I would hate everyone else.
I could not imagine, because like Lions fans probably rooted for Stafford. Most of them, I think, did in that Super Bowl when the Rams won.
Sure. Yeah.
And now you have Goff and you have Stafford coming in. I can't, like, the perception of being like, okay, I rooted for Stafford, but now I have to look at it like logistically, he's on the other team. I do not want him to win this game. And
right.
Okay, what did he do for me while he was here and all that stuff?
That's why this is the most fun playoff matchup that I could ever ask for. It's the most anticipated, maybe not ever, but for Rams fans and for Lions fans, absolutely. And now I think I'm ready for my favorite part of the week.
Yeah. Is it time for Nick's picks?
I think it is.
Awesome. Let's do it. Oh, wow. Let's get it one more time.
All right.
Another year passes, and we have a new playoff bracket in our midst on Super Wildcard Weekend. If you were smart, NFL, you would have named it Supra Wildcard Weekend, because that's a whole nother level above Super, especially with this Rams-Lions game. But we had a great year chopping it up with the fans in the comments at Nick's Picks. Seems like the favorite theme song this season, shockingly, was the one that was copywritten. That's right. The Bluey theme song seemed to be the most beloved Nick's Picks theme song this year. What can you say? Dean, should we play it? No, we can't play it, because then this video will lose half of the money it makes, because Disney doesn't want to split the bill. Our first ever sponsor, Disney. How could they do this? Anyway, we have a quick theme song here for you guys just to get things started for the priceless playoff picks I'm about to send your way. So, producer, hit G9 on the jukebox. Well, my name is Nick, and I'm here to say we're about to do Nick's picks in a major way. Well, you jump to the right and you make a pick. Then you jump to the left and you make that pick. Like the show, then subscribe. And that's how you do Nick's Picks.
It's the scarn.
Yeah, it's a scarn.
That's how you do the scarn. That is
Deepest
that's
of cuts. Deepest of cuts as always.
It's like, where do I know that from? And then you hand to your left and you hand. I was like, oh, that's the scarn.
You shake that hand, meet new friends, tie some yarn. Anyway, let's move on to football, which is why
that one's at the top, by the way.
Thank you. I enjoyed making that one. It came to me last night in a dream.
I actually thought you were performing it live, which made it even funnier. And then I looked up and the soundbite was playing. Good stuff.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Browns and Texans. Game starts at 1:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and that is precisely when I will be cracking a beer to get the party started. Not really. I'll probably be at a combination of Marshalls and Home Goods. But either way, this is going to be a battle royale, must-watch TV, or for me, must-watch iPhone, as I will be watching through my phone on the couch that they have in the changing rooms at Marshalls. Father Time, a.k.a. Joe Flacco, going up against the little engine that could, C.J. Stroud. It's funny the way the media talks about quarterback matchups. You'd think that these guys were throwing the football at each other. Stroud has a lot more trouble on his plate. Here comes treble, dealing with Myles Garrett and the Furious Five pass rush that Garrett leads. Well, Joe, we've seen it before. He tore up this young, lackluster Texans defense. I don't want to make waves, but I don't think this game is going to be close at all. Flacco has been there. He's done that. He's gotten a T-shirt, the one that says Super Bowl champ on it. And I think this will easily be a first step in the Browns making it to the AFC title game, something Nick predicted week 0 of the 2023 season. Nick Stradamus, anyone? 21-10, Browns D shows up in a big way, and Joe starts dozing off during a halftime where he will insist on the fact that he's not sleeping. He's just resting his eyes.
I like it. I remember back when Sean McVay was a first-year head coach in 2017. D'Amico Ryans has a similar situation with the Texans, and it's a first-round wild card exit. But then next year, all bets are off on the Texans. They can go as far as they want to go. But I love the Browns this year. Totally agree. Big Joe gets his victory, and the Browns move on to the division round.
It kind of reminds me of that 2017 season with the Rams, Sean McVay, where the Rams got there hella early. I think they won the division, right?
They may have.
Maybe?
I'm not sure.
I think
definitely did the following year. But we'll circle back.
It doesn't matter. The young team got there a little too early. Steelers at Bills. Call me a madman. I like the Steelers to upset the Bills here. Well, I'm not going to tell you to take the Steelers straight up. Let's not act like they haven't been playing up to their potential finally. Mason Theodore Rudolph has elevated this offense to new heights since he took over for Mitch Trubisky. I feel like we are finally seeing what the Steelers can be. And I also wholeheartedly believe the Bills are the most mirror image team in existence. Not once have I seen them play a game where they either don't play up or play down to the level of the team they're playing against. It's like when Mario met Shadow Mario in Super Mario Sunshine, or when Sonic met Shadow in Sonic Adventure Battle 2. Lazy writing. Either way, a Bills blowout is not in the cards, ladies and germs. Give me Steelers plus 10 all day. Give me it every day, twice on Saturday, and throw in a little under action as well. Under sitting at 36, jump on that fast because I think it'll get lower. But I'm seeing 10-mile-an-hour gusts of wind, like Pidgeotto. And honestly, that's kind of the game where the Steelers can, pull off the upset. Either way, let's just say 19-10. Let's say the Bills somehow escape with a dub. But hey, maybe sprinkle a tiny bit on Steelers money line just because, like $25, not an official pick. But, who knows? Also, maybe hold off on betting Steelers plus 10 because I think it probably will climb by kickoff. You'll probably get it at plus 10.5 or plus 11. So Steelers plus 10 is the official pick. If it gets higher, you know what to do.
I'm going opposite. I'm going all Bills, all Buffalo Bills.
Gag me with a spoon, Dean.
I do not believe in Mason
Super Bowl since 1993.
I have faith. Go Bills. What's next?
Yeah, all right, Haley Steinfeld. Packers at Cowboys. I'm just going to say this right here, right now. I do not believe in Jordan Love at all. You smoked the Bears twice, and everyone wants to say that they got their guy for the next 10 years. Sure, buddy. That's not how it works. Maybe you got Tua for the next 10 years, but Favre, Rodgers, are we watching the same tape? Meanwhile, Dak played it at an MVP level this season. There's no denying that. And then when you add McCarthy, revenge game, you add CD against the youngest defense in the league. And oh, by the way, 2-time Super Bowl loser, Brandon Cooks. I think this is just a steamroll of a game for the Cowboys. I'm thinking something along the lines of like 33-10 Cowboys, -7.5, easy money, roll into the Sunday night marquee matchup.
It would definitely be one that we're watching, right? Because it could have implications on the next round. It's the game before. But I want to see Jordan Love and the youngest playoff team in the history of the Packers, see what they can do, see if they can string together some good stuff. I'm interested. We'll see. But Cowboys, I think will win by a substantial margin.
Every year, the Cowboys get this layup game in the first round of the playoffs, and they destroy the team. Doesn't matter who's on the other side. And then they get to week 2, and they lose in some like ridiculously sad fashion. Amazing.
Dallas and the 49ers and the Lions, who've never won a Super Bowl, longest current active playoff teams without a Super Bowl ring. 95 and 96 for Dallas and the Niners.
It's tough.
I think we keep losing and keep enjoying. Run it back. Let's do it.
Run it back. We have Browns money line, Steelers +10, under 36 in Steelers Bills, Cowboys -7.5 in Jerry World, as they do every year. Easily get past their first lackluster opponent. And then quick pick, Dean. My quick pick is going to be whatever your lock is. So whatever Dean likes this week, that's Nick's. That's going to be a part of Nick's picks. It's a brand new thing because we usually run away from Dean's locks, but it's going to be an official pick.
I'm going to go. I got to go Puka Nacua anytime touchdown.
Nakua.
Anytime.
I hate player props as picks, but I have
to do it. I have to go Puka because I feel like the matchup with Brian Branch on the slot, and there's some vacancies in the secondary. Puka Nacua is going to get his in the Y. I have faith. Matchups are there.
Things you love to see. Puka Nacua getting the first touchdown of the Rams-Lions game. Let's go. Montgomery, anytime touchdown scorer.
It doesn't need to be the first one.
No, I know.
Anytime. Yeah.
Anytime.
This is going to be a hell of a game. So glad you guys have been a part of this season. So glad you guys have been a part of all of the growth on YouTube. And we're hoping to kind of bring everything this way so that you guys get more action on YouTube and more fun stuff, more graphics and visuals and all that fun shit. So we appreciate you guys. Go Rams. It's going to be a hell of a game. Lions fans, we'll talk to you after the fact. Hopefully no bad blood, but it's going to be fun. We love you guys. Yeah. Go Rams.
Hopefully both quarterbacks throw for 3 touchdowns and then, they tie and they both
game-ending field goal. Yeah. Game-ending field goal as time expires would be beautiful. All right. Go Rams.
Go Rams, boys and ladies. Horns up.
Peace.